ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Before I start, everyone, inshallah bidnillah, there will be a clarification what I said last Friday in the khutbah. There will be. So it's not like I'm ignoring it. I will address it, and there's no problem with that. But inshallah bidnillah, as we live now in the times of negativity, where people are always trying to find anything they can on an individual to try to cause fitna. And like we said, we're trying to keep our energy positive as much as possible. As before I even made those statements on Jumu'ah, there was fitna before, 2 weeks before that. People were saying that I was saying that the angels have brains, or that the angels have body parts. It's never an ending story with people. And before that, the khutbah a month ago, they said that I said the shaitan was a prophet, which I did. Yeah, I said it, but it was a slip of the tongue. I didn't even know I said it until somebody told me. I said that. That was an obvious slip of the tongue. So that's what I'm saying. There's never going to be a never-ending story with people. When some people just got something in their chest for you, it's never going to stop until they find what they're looking for and say, we got you. Until your ears is cut off and until you're done. It's never going to stop. But at any rate, but as far as what I said last Friday, I will clarify what I said, and I will bring a clarification in that of what I said last Jumu'ah. And what I will say and I will clarify it, and I will let everyone know what I meant by those statements. And if I did say something wrong, it's no problem for me to retract it. It's nothing as a discrepancy or some type of offense to a person to say I'm wrong. Rather, saying I'm wrong is something honorable and noble. So if I was wrong in a statement, it's simple. I'll just retract it. It's not that deep. But if it's statements that were correct and it just happened to touch certain people's sensitivity, then I won't retract that. Because if that just because you're just offended because you have something in your chest because you know it's true, then that's on you. But if I said something that went against the truth or against the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then by all means I will make tawbah and I will retract that. Because everything as far as the religion has to be preserved. No matter who it is that made a mistake, then that has to be, they have to be admonished or redirected, even if it's myself. So, but if it's something that offended someone because they know in their hearts they're guilty of it, then I'm not retracting that. That's just something you're going to have to take up with yourself. But if I said something that is, like I said, opposing Kitaab and Sunnah, then by all means I will retract it. I will definitely, absolutely retract it. And also likewise in preservation for the unity, as I did not specify in the khutbah saying any specific name or masjid. I said an area. I said Delaware and Chester. I didn't say the name of this masjid, and I didn't say the name of Masjid Fajr, did I? I don't remember me saying any name of any masjid. But I said an area. I said Delaware and I said Chester. And I generalized it. But as far as, like I said, when I will come and I will clarify it, inshallah, and I have not ignored it, I will come with a statement and a retraction. If there's need to be a retraction, then I will definitely clarify that. But know for sure, brothers, it's not going to stop here. There's people out there that has something in their chest for me. There is. They're out there. Like I said, before I made those statements in the khutbah Friday, 2 weeks before that, sisters would send me a note saying that you said that the angels have brains. So that's what I'm saying. There's people out there that are listening, they're watching, they're trying to find things. They're lurking and they're watching. It's never going to end and it's not going to stop.
But inshallah, like I said, Friday, I will clarify, and I will put something on Twitter also that will be put out in a couple of days, inshallah. But like I said, brothers and sisters, make sure we keep our energy positive, because we live in a times people love negativity. It's like an energy that just it affects everyone, families, husbands, everybody. Just so it's like a state of everyone seems like they're just sad and they want everyone else around them to be sad, and everybody want to be in a state of turmoil. So for that reason, like I said, we want to keep the energy positive as much as possible and keep everything positive. And like I said, if I made something that opposed Kitaab and Sunnah, I have no problem retracting it. No problem at all. I have no hesitation in retracting it. Rather, we know that retraction of a mistake that opposed Kitaab and Sunnah is honorable. You'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises those people. And the ulama have retracted statements. So who are we as students of knowledge to think that we're not going to retract anything? So on this day of Wednesday, November the 7th, 6:55 p.m., which is 2018, which agrees with the Gregorian calendar. 2018, the Gregorian calendar, which is a direct agreement with the 28th night of Safar, the year 1440 after the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like I said, brothers and sisters, keep focused. Like I said, Shaitan is going to try to get me out of here. I already know it's coming. I see it. Shaitan is going to do his best to get me out of here. He don't want me teaching Kitaab Tawheed. He don't want me to keep a source of that. He don't want me focusing on that. And he's going to do a very slick plan to get me out of here. It happens every community I go to. And people fall for it all the time. So what we say is, as far as in regards to the day 1440 after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ, you'll find in the chapter the Shafa'ah where we stopped, in which we talked about and we gave a little introduction. You'll find that we spoke about the meaning of the Shafa'ah linguistically. We said as what At-Tawassut lil Ghayr, or linguistic. I'll put that there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. As far as the Shafa'ah, in regards to it meaning linguistically, we said, of course, everyone knows that Shafa'ah means intercession. But we said that the word Shafa' in the Arabic language means what? That it means even. And it's the opposite of it, which is witr, which means odd. It means odd. We talked about also, just quickly, I'm not going to go in detail what we covered, but we talked about also a shafa'ah. There's two types in regards to what is between the creation and what is between the creation and Allah. And we said that you'll find how the people, from the Muslims, especially in these days, how they mix the two affairs, in which you'll find, like we said, they fall into the aspect of polytheism because of them mixing them up. You'll find in regards to the creation, they'll now say that the resemblance of that is similar to Allah. As far as what? As far as in regards to Allah Ta'ala needing certain people in order to inform him of things that are taking place with the khalq, with the creation, which is not the case. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like we said, has complete knowledge and awareness of everything all at the same time. There is nothing in the heavens and the earth that escapes Allah Ta'ala's knowledge and his awareness. But as far as the creation, as we know, we talked about how the creation, they are the ones who need, first of all, they're the ones who have the characteristic of need. That's number one. Also, likewise, the kings that run their kingdom, they need delegates and creation and ministers in order to what? Govern their kingdom. Not Allah Ta'ala. We found that we said, number one, for the reasons of why a king would need shufa'a, that why they would need people who intercede for them. Number one is because of what? What did we say? Due to, number one, as we said last class, lack of knowledge. Did we not say that? Where's you guys' books at? You guys your books with you. Due to their lack of knowledge. Because we know that the kings, or people who own their countries or the leaders of their countries, their knowledge are not complete. So they need help to help govern and administrate the affairs of their kingdom. So you'll find that we said, number one, due to their lack of knowledge and their qusud al-ilm, that their knowledge be incomplete. That's in regards to the creation. Number two is, like we said, also because they also lack awareness, total absolute awareness. So they need delegates to inform them of what's taking place in their kingdom with the people. They need to inform them because of their what? Because they are also incomplete in their awareness of what's taking place. So they need ministers or they need delegates to come and inform them of what's taking place, as they say, with the ahwal al-ra'iyah, with the conditions of the people who's being what? Under their leadership. In order for the king or the person in charge to know what's going on with them, they need their delegates to inform them. That's mumtani'. That's impossible, as we said, with Allah wa ta'ala. Also, third, we said, because of their lack of ability. As the kings, as we said last class, they lack ability. They lack ability to complete or completely run their country. Because they're human beings. There's only one person, there's only one human being who's a king. So he's alone and he's by himself, and he needs aid and he needs help and he needs people around him. So his authority or his governorship of that particular land can be what? Can be fulfilled and complete. Otherwise, if the king was alone, why wouldn't the people wouldn't hesitate to what? Cause his land to be in a state of anarchy and try to overthrow him. So that's the reason why, like we just said, due to his lack of ability, as we said last class, right? We also said, number four, because of what, everyone? Also, likewise, we said that the shufa'a, the intercessors, can influence the king. There's certain people out there who are very decorative as far as their speech. And they can also come to a person and influence them with how they speak to them. There are people out there that are embellished and well-versed with their tongues. And they could go to the king or the leader and they can persuade him. And they can sway him to how he feels. That's another reason why we said, right, everyone? And also, likewise, like we talked about and said last class, the shufa'a, or those who are interceding, they can also likewise, if they wanted to, if the king did not accept their shafa'a, their intercession, or their help, then a lot of them, of course, we know, will probably either try to take it over themselves or they will probably leave. So all these are affairs in which you'll find that those who fall into mixing up these affairs of the shafa'ah, they say that Allah is like this in certain aspects, where he needs certain people in between him and the creation to inform him of what's taking place. Or, for example, it's as if they don't realize, a lot of them is as if they're saying that Allah ta'ala, that in order for our shafa'ah to be accepted, we need to have this middle person to tell Allah about what's going on with us, or to tell Allah ta'ala of what's taking place with us. All these affairs are, like we said, all these affairs, like we just mentioned and said, that they are all what, everyone? All of these do not befit the Creator. Allah ta'ala, that first of all, number one, to alleviate all of this, if you want to sum it up, we said that Allah ta'ala does not have the characteristic of need in the first place. That's totally mumtani'. That's mustahil, Camden. As we said, all of those affairs are what? All of them are negated. And also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have the characteristic of need at all. Allah ta'ala does not have that. Rather, we know that the word haja yunafi sifat al-ghina. Yan Allah ghani ghina'an mutlaqa. We said that Allah ta'ala, the characteristic of need, that it contradicts the characteristic called ghina. Ghina meaning absolute self-sufficiency and independency of having any type of need whatsoever to ta'ala. So all these affairs that we just mentioned all go back to that incompleteness, which is what? Which is need. And Allah ta'ala is totally free of anything and anyone and anything He created ta'ala. But however, you'll find that some of the worshippers of graves, especially those who are well engrossed and deep rooted in the extreme Sufiya, the deviant sect called the Sufiya, as we talked about last class, they are the ones that mix up these affairs and they say that Allah Ta'ala is like this. And that's the reason why you'll find that they try to take between them and Allah someone from the righteous. And even some of them even say that they need, or they talk to the Messenger of Allah and ask him to be an intercessor between them and Allah. Either the Messenger of Allah or someone else from the righteous, no matter who it is. And you'll find that all these affairs, like we just mentioned before, in which Allah himself has said and declared, number one, that they're polytheism. That's number one. And we said also likewise that Allah Ta'ala condemned this act by saying these are the affairs which have destroyed the people of the past, as we know. And likewise, you'll find similar to what the Muslims fall into of today. Is it clear what I'm saying, Cade? Do you guys need something else to write in the book? Where's your book at? You guys sharing with it? Caden, sit on the other side of Camden. Sit on that side where he has the book so you can read it. No, he can be in the middle and he'll be on the other side and he'll look. There's some notebooks inside of my office. Some people left it in the class. I don't know why brothers keep, some people leave their notebook and their book. They leave it here for class. And then after they leave, it's right here. But still in my class, some notebooks. Type. As we said, that this is the reason why the people have mixed up these affairs in regards to the shafa'ah. They mixed it up due to these reasons that we mentioned. The number one is because they resembled Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the creation. That's the reason why they fell into mixing up these affairs. Fine. So those are the reasons, like we said, and this is the introduction before we get to the ayat, as we lay down the foundation in the introduction before we actually start reading the ayat. So before we actually read the verses in the book of Allah, we give some type of clarity and introduction by laying the foundation. And then once you read the ayat, everything will fall into its place, and it will be in its proper understanding and perspective. In a couple of minutes, inshallah. طيب. So you'll find, ya ma'ashal ikhlas, as we mentioned and said, that we said that the shafa'ah in the book of Allah Ta'ala also, we said there are some that are what? Negated, and we said there are some that are what? Also affirmed. And we said last class, in the book of Allah, you'll find an ayat where Allah Ta'ala affirms the shafa'ah, and He also what? Negates it. As we said that last class, am I right or wrong? We said that Friday. There's certain ayats and verses in the book of Allah where Allah affirms it, and there's certain verses where Allah what? Negates it. And everything went with alhamd is in its what? Proper place. Because Allah Ta'ala negates the intercession for those who do not deserve it from the who? From the kuffar, for those who died in the state of kufr or in the state of shirk, in the state of polytheism or in the state of disbelief. Allah Ta'ala has removed from them the affair of the shafa'ah, which will be an honor for an individual on the day of resurrection. Allah Ta'ala removed it from them. For those who has been affirmed for is, like we said, who everyone? The people of Tawheed and Ahl Iman. And that is, like we said, the shafa'ah. And we find in the book of Allah, number one that is what, everyone? Negated. And then second, which is what? Affirmed. Negated for who? As we said, for the kuffar and the people of what? Of shirk. People would say, aren't the people of kuffar, people of shirk, are they the same? Yes, absolutely. But you'll find that certain people of kufr are more in disbelief than others. For example, the people of the book, the Yahud and Ahl Kitaab. The people of the book, even though they're kuffar, somebody walked in and said something and left? Who was it? Amir? Ali? Ali's right here. Oh, okay. What was I saying again? No. You'll find that there are certain people of the people of the book who are what? The people of the book who are kuffar. The people of the book, the Al-Kitab, they are kuffar. However, the mushrikeen are akthar minhum. The mushrikeen, the polytheists, are more what? Are more deep in their kufr than them. Even though they're all generally what? Kuffar, all of them. Why we say that? Due to the fact that it's still permissible for what? For a man to marry a person of the book. And it's also permissible to marry their what? To eat their what? their meat. But despite of them being kuffar, we know that the mushrikeen are more what? In their kufr and deeper in it than the people of the book, even though generally all of them are considered what? Kuffar. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. But in this regard, we say that Allah Ta'ala lays down the haqq in regards to the shafa'ah, in which we'll discuss the conditions of when the shafa'ah is negated and when the shafa'ah has been what? Affirmed. We'll talk about the conditions of it in a minute. We'll also mention last class in regards to the different types of shafa'at, and this is where I stopped at last class. Number one, we said the shafa'ah that's only specifically for the Prophet ﷺ. The shafa'ah or the intercession that's only for the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. Those shafa'at I'm going to ask the children too, especially from the kids that's in the class. As we talked about last class, number one, the shafa'ah that is only specifically for the Prophet ﷺ is what, everyone? Number one is the shafa'ah for Ahl Mawqif, the shafa'ah and an intercession for the people who will be in the state of severe difficulty when the day of resurrection commences and everyone is resurrected and everyone will come receiving their recompense. And Allah Ta'ala, as we know, will draw the sun close to everyone. As we know, the hadith, the authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ informed on the day of resurrection that Allah will bring the sun close. And that reason, what will take place is certain affairs from the people who will be drenching in their sweat, and they will be at different levels of their sweat. Some of them they will be up to their legs, some of them up to we know certain places of their bodies, and some of them will be drowning in their sweat, all due to the fact of what they had committed and what they had done in this world. And you'll find that this difficulty, they will go to all the different prophets and the messengers, and they will be seeking a shafa'ah. But we said this type of intercession is not for what? To enter paradise or to enter hell. Rather, it's only for what? For the commencement of the day of resurrection, meaning for it to start. That's what will be the reason why this shafa'ah is initiated or is legislated. It will be legislated in order for the day of resurrection to what? To start, to commence. And we know that shafa'ah or that honor is for the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, only specifically for him. And that's due to the ayat that Allah Ta'ala has said in Surah Al-Isra that we mentioned in last class, which is where Allah Ta'ala mentions about in his book what they call Al-Maqam Al-Mahmud, the praiseworthy, if you want to say Al-Maqam Al-Mahmud, or the praiseworthy level or the status, the praiseworthy status that the Messenger of Allah will be given. What is the praiseworthy status? That the Messenger of Allah ﷺ will be the one who's the shafi', the intercessor for the resurrection to start, for the relief of the people of Ahl Mawqif, or the people who will be in that circumstance of difficulty when the sun is brought to them. And everyone will be seeking someone who can relieve them of that, and that will be the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. As we said and discussed last class, it will be passed down from all the different prophets all the way up to when Jesus, the son of Mary, will pass it off to the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will come forward. And like we said, he will be the reason, and Allah Ta'ala will make him the shafi', the intercessor, so the day of resurrection can now what? Commence. We can start. That particular shafa'a, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, ya Camden, that particular shafa'a is only for him. It's only for him. So that's number one. You guys writing this down? That's number one. The shafa'a for what they call the people of Ahl al-Mawqif. Ahl al-Mawqif are the people who will be in a circumstance of difficulty, where the sun will be brought close. And we know, like we said, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that status is called al-Maqam al-Mahmud. Al-Maqam al-Mahmud. The Maqam al-Mahmud is mentioned in the book of Allah Ta'ala. As Allah Ta'ala, He says in His book, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدَ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عِسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا وَقُلْ رَبِّي أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ الصِّدْقِ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُخْرَجَ الصِّدْقِ وَجَعَلْنِي مِنْ لَدُنْكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. That Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Isra, He said from the night prayer, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. He said, نَافِلَةً لَكَ, maybe perhaps that Allah will bring you on the day of resurrection for the maqam al-mahmud, that praiseworthy status. That ayah, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, Allah Ta'ala is showing that He, alayhi salatu wasalam, will be specified for this type of shafa'ah only. There's no one besides Him that will earn this privilege and this tremendous honor that He, alayhi salatu wasalam, that He will have only in order for the day of resurrection to commence and start. Focus, brothers and sisters. Focus. So that's the first type of shafa'ah, as we mentioned and said, that's only for the Messenger of Allah. The second one, like we said, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is for who? Is for those, that's only specifically for him, is for the opening of the gates of paradise. As we said last class, that the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, on the day of resurrection, the gates of paradise will not be open except only for him, as it comes in the Sahih. And firstly, number one, it comes in the book of Allah. It comes in the Quran itself. As we talked about the ayats, it comes in Surah Al-Zumar. Allah Ta'ala mentions, it says, حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا فُتِحَتْ وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا. Or we can say in the beginning of the first part of the ayat, وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمَرًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ طِبْتُمْ فَادْخُلُوهَا خَالِدِينَ. That ayah, which we talked about, which is Surah Al-Zumar, ayah number what? 73 and 74. Allah Ta'ala says in His book that those who will have taqwa of Allah, meaning who actualized and learned Tawheed and monotheism, and also remain firm upon the Sunnah, and those likewise who did righteous actions and performed abundance of righteous actions, وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمَرًا, that they will be what? Brought to paradise in groups. He says, until they will come to it and the doors will be open. When we said and, the word wa, and, as you go back to Ibn Kathir, like we talked about before, that there will have to be a reason why the gates of paradise will be open, and that reason will be the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. So the gates of paradise will not be open, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, unless the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam comes to the door, and he will be the reason why the gates will be what? Open. That is a type of shafa'ah. That is a type of intercession. That intercession is only for the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, and for no one else. Because it comes in the hadith, which is a Sahih Muslim, clearly establishing this affair, where it says in Sahih Muslim, O you Muhammad, I have not been commanded, meaning to open, except only for you. Which is to let one know that he alayhi salatu wasalam is the greatest of all messengers and prophets. After all the messengers and prophets, he alayhi salatu wasalam is the greatest of them, and he alayhi salatu wasalam has a high honor with Allah Ta'ala after all the messengers and the prophets. He's the greatest of them, alayhi salatu wasalam, and learning this type of knowledge helps increase your love for him, alayhi salatu wasalam, and your respect for him, alayhi salatu wasalam, due to the high status he has with Allah, even though at the same time he's still only a human being, and he's still only been commanded with informing the revelation, but he is still only a abd. He's still only a what? A servant of Allah. So not to raise him above his status and worshiping him, as you'll find that people do these days. The third type of shafa'ah is what, everyone? I forgot to mention this one. He says the shafa'ah, you'll find that some of Ahl Ilm mention and say that there will be an intercession for the message of Allah for the raising the levels and the degrees of people in paradise. That's another shafa'ah. I didn't mention that last class. You could add this one. So add that one onto the list. So the shafa'ah fi rif'i darajati ba'd al-mu'mineen, if you want to say. The shafa'ah, or the intercession for raising the levels of some believers in paradise. That's another shafa'ah you'll find in which you'll Ahl Ilm mention and say that is for the message of Allah only. Then you'll find another shafa'ah, and this is where we stopped at last class. What did we say, ya ma'ashal ikhwah? There will be a shafa'ah, an intercession for Abu Talib. Abu Talib, who's his uncle, in which the Messenger of Allah will intercede for him for the punishment to be lightened, not for him to be removed from the hellfire. Some people think it's for what? It's for him to be removed out of the hellfire, but it's not for that affair. Rather, it's for what? For his punishment to be lightened, no more, no less. May Allah Ta'ala preserve us. For his punishment to be lightened, because we know that Abu Talib died in a state of what? Of disbelief, even though he knew the truth. And you'll find there's narrations numerous that have affirmed that Abu Talib knew that the Messenger of Allah was the Messenger of Allah. But however, that al-hamiyatul jahiliyyah, or that nakhwatul jahiliyyah, that extreme fanaticism to hold on to what his forefathers were upon, took over. It shows the danger of clinging on to something that's incorrect just out of blind fanaticism. How dangerous it is. How that affair can take over. It could be a reason for one coming in between an individual and him accepting the truth. And that could be one's downfall, where it can lead down and plunge one in the depths of hell. That's how dangerous that type of way of thinking is. Blind fanaticism, especially in regards to clinging to what one's forefathers were upon. Even in regards to some of the Muslims and their practices, you'll find that's incorrect. They'll use the exact same argument. They'll say that this is something I grew up with, this is something my grandmother taught me, or this is something that my father taught me. I know what the Book of Allah, I know what the Sunnah says, but regardless of what you say, I'm still going to do it. Blind fanaticism. Even though that this was affair was pertaining to kufr, but even in certain affairs of the religion that opposes it, you'll find that people hold on and cling to what they call at-Taqaleed al-Mukhalif al-Shar'. Those affairs, which are what they say general, what they call somewhat of old traditions that they were practicing, they'll hold on to it, even though it opposes the religion, with the same claim. They'll say that this is something my mother taught me, this is something my father taught me, this is something my great-great-grandmother did, my great-great-great-great-grandfather did, and I'm not going away from that. I know what you're saying is correct. I know what you're saying is right. I know what everything you're saying is evidence and proof to show what I'm doing is wrong, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to do it. And you'll find that there are people that are out there that are just like this. And this is a type of affair that Allah Ta'ala has talked about in His book, which is the reason why people have become destroyed, not only in this world, but in the hereafter. And from them who's destroyed was who? Abu Talib, the uncle of the Messenger of Allah, ﷺ, who knew in the depthness of himself that the Messenger of Allah truly was the Messenger of Allah. He knew it. As he said in his poetry, Abu Talib said in the poetry, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُ أَنَّ دِينَ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْ خَيْرِ أَدْيَانِ الْبَرِيَّةِ دِينًا وَلَوْلَا الْمَلَامَةُ أَوْ مَخَافٍ مَسَبَّةٍ لَوَجَدْتَنِي صَرْحًا بِذَلِكَ مُبِينًا. He said, verily, indeed, I know that Muhammad, the religion of Muhammad is min khayri adyan al-bariyati dina. He says, the best of the religion of the creation. And if it wasn't the fact that my people will find me blameworthy, or that they would insult me or curse me, you would see me openly professing to it. So that's a poetry that shows that he affirmed and he knew what he was upon, what the message of Allah was upon was what? Was correct. And despite of that, he still preferred what? He preferred shirk and the polytheism and the deen of those who are following something incorrect out of blind fanaticism. But at any rate, that shafa'ah is only for what? It's only for the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. And we said that will only specifically be for him, and it's only for his uncle. Only for his uncle, Abu Talib. That his punishment be what? Be lightened. That's only for him. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? You also have other shafa'at which are general. You have shafa'at that are, you're writing this down, Kate. You have the other types of intercessions that are for the Messenger of Allah other than the Messenger of Allah. For example, for people to what? Of people who deserve to be in the hellfire, but they will not enter it. That is for the Messenger of Allah and other than the Messenger of Allah. Those who are into the hellfire, who deserved it, but they will not what? Enter it. You'll find there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, إِنَّمَا شَفَاعَتِي لِأَهْلِي الْكَبَائِرِ مِنْ أُمَّتِي you'll find that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly mentions, it says, verily my shafa'ah, the shafa'ah, he says, is for the major sinners from my people, from my nation. For the major sinners from them who did not make tawbah. He said, you'll find from the narration, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, it said, the shafa'ati li ahl al-kaba'iri min ummati. That the shafa'ah, this is from other than the shafa'at, this is for him and it's for other than him. He says it's for the what? The major sinners from my ummah. From the major sinners from my ummah. So the message of Allah has that privilege along with other than him, as we'll talk about, inshaAllah. So that's for him, and that's for who? Other than him. Then you have those who are from the shafa'ah of those who are into the hellfire, and they will be what? Brought out of the hellfire. People who enter the hellfire, but they will be what? Brought out of the hellfire. By different types of shafa'at, for different types of intercessions, and from them there will be from who? As we talked about last class, that tremendous hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu an, that long hadith, which is tremendous. That hadith which talks about how on the day of resurrection there will be different types of intercessions. From them who will intercede is the angels. The angels will intercede. There's an ayat that establishes this affair clearly. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, بَلْ عِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ لَا يَسْبِقُونَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ وَهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِ يَعْمَلُونَ يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ إِلَّا لِمَنِ ارْتَضَى وَهُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَتِهِ مُشْفِقُونَ. As Allah Ta'ala says in his book, he says, لَا يَسْبِقُونَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ وَهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِ يَعْمَلُونَ يعلم ما بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم ولا يشفعون إلا لمن ارتضى. That's the point of reference in the ayah, in which I'll give everyone after class. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about the angels, He says in his book about them, He says they do not precede Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in any command. They do not precede Him. ولا يسبقونه بالقول وهم بأمره يعملون. Rather, by His command, they work. And Allah knows what's in front of them and what's behind them. And they will not intercede except by His permission. So that ayat clearly affirms what, everyone? That the angels will intercede for certain people. The angels will intercede. So that's even in the book of Allah Ta'ala. As we know, the angels also likewise make dua for the khalq. They make dua for the people of Tawheed and the people of Ahl-Iman. They make dua for them. And they will also intercede for them on the day of resurrection. Which is also to clearly show, like we talked about before, and we established, that the angels also have what, everyone? That they have intellects and they have understanding. And they understand. As you'll find that maybe that's something of an understanding that we carried on before we were Muslim. As certain people think that they're just what? They're almost as similar to like robots. But that's not the case. You'll find that Allah Ta'ala even mentions in his book a long dua that the angels make for the people of Tawheed and the people of Iman. It's a long dua they mention, that Allah mentions that they say. He says, وَالَّذِينَ يَحْمِلُونَ عَرْشَ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهُ يُسَبِّحُونَ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّهِمْ وَيُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا رَبَّنَا وَسِعْتَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ رَحْمَةً وَعِلْمًا فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقهم عذاب الجحيم ربنا وأدخلهم جنة عدن التي وعدتهم ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم إنك أنت السميع العليم وقهم السيئات ومن تقي السيئات يومئذ فقد رحمته وذلك هو الفوز العظيم. They say that whole dua for the creation in that long ayah. The angels. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, O our Lord. Firstly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they say that the angels, that they seek forgiveness for those who believe. That they make istighfar for the people of Tawheed. They make istighfar for the people of Iman. They seek Allah ta'ala's forgiveness for them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what type of dua they make. And then even Allah gives us details of what type of supplication that the angels make for the people of Tawheed and the people of Iman. You'll find that it says, رَبَّنَا وَسِعْتَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ رَحْمَةً وَعِلْمًا. Oh Allah, you have encompassed everything You have encompassed everything in your knowledge and your mercy. Forgive those. فَاغْفِرْ لِلَّذِينَ تَابُوا. Forgive those who make repentance and follow your one path and save them from the hellfire. Then Allah Ta'ala gives more details of what they say in their supplication. رَبَّنَا وَأَدْخِلْهُمْ جَنَّةِ عَدْنٍ الَّتِي وَعَدْتَهُمْ. He says, also Allah, enter them in the paradise and the gardens of Adn, in which you promised them. And those who are righteous from their families and from their forefathers and from their progeny. Verily you are as-Sami'ul Alim. Save them from their evil deeds. وَقِهِمُ السَّيِّئَاتِ وَمَنْ تَقِ السَّيِّئَاتِ يَوْمَئِذٍ فَقَدْ رَحِمْتَ. Save them from their evil actions. That's from the dua of the angels for the what? For the believers, from the people of Tawheed. For notice that when you leave off the religion of Al-Islam and you leave off the Iman, that dua is not for you anymore. You understand, everyone? That supplication is not for you anymore. For that, for the people of the angels only supplicate for Ahl Iman and the people of monotheism and the people of Tawheed. Right. So the angels, not only do they make dua and supplicate, which is clear evidences and proofs that the angels what? Comprehend, and that they also what, everyone? They understand. Also, likewise, the angels will intercede on the day of resurrection for certain people. The angels will intercede. You'll find in the hadith, which is mukharrajun fi Sahih Muslim, as you'll find that it comes in the Sahih, and I'll read it quickly once I get it in a minute. As you'll find that it comes in the narration of Sahih Muslim, that the Prophet, that famous hadith, or that tremendous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about what will take place on the day of resurrection and how the malaika will intercede and the righteous will intercede and also the prophets will intercede. Shafa'atil malaika. Matter of fact, I'll read it quickly. Shafa'atil malaika. Shafa'at al-malaika, that the angels will intercede. Oh, here it is. Alhamdulillah, it just came up. It's a long hadith. It says that the angels will intercede. وَشَفَعَ النَّبِيُّونَ, and that the prophets will intercede. وَشَفَعَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, and that the believers will intercede. He says until no one is left except the most merciful of those who are merciful. The most merciful of those who have mercy, who is Him, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And He will grip a grip, and He will remove from it people out of hell who didn't do any good. لَمْ يَعْمَلُوا خَيْرًا قَطْ قَدْ عَادُوا حَمَمًا. He said that they became burnt up till they became burnt up to cinders. They've been burnt up. Burnt up to the point, like we said, until Allah Ta'ala will remove them, and then they will be brought out due to some type of Adam's weight of faith that they had remaining of monotheism. And some of them had a mustard seed of faith, and some of them had an Adam's weight of mustard seed, and that which is besides that. But notice that it says that they will be in the hellfire because of them not doing certain what? Actions. Because it said they didn't do any what? Good. So as a result of it, or they did not do any, لَمْ يَعْمَلُوا خَيْرًا قَطْ. They did not do any actions, meaning they didn't have any deeds. All they had to save them out of hell was their what? Was their iman. But they will be brought out. The point of reference in the hadith, it says what, everyone? That the angels will intercede, the prophets will intercede, and who? And the believers will intercede. So if that goes on to that category, which shows what, everyone? So that shafa'ah, that type of intercession is for who? For the angels, the prophets, and also who? The believers. So it's for the message of Allah, and it's also for what? For other than the message of Allah. Say it again. No. The second one. That one is general for who? General not only for the message of Allah, but it's also for who? For other people. Jayyid. So these are all narrations that clearly show that the shafa'ah is something that is what? Affirmed. It is not rejected. And you'll find, like we said, ya ma'ashal ikhwah, there are people out there that reject this, and there are people out there that what? That also go to the extremes of its affirmation until they fall into polytheism in regards to it. Those who reject it, as we said last class, are who? Who are they? They are the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. They deny and reject the Shafa'ah. And I'll talk about what happened with the story of what took place with the great Sahabi Jabir bin Abdullah radiyallahu anhu ardah, and also the man, his name was Yazid al-Faqir, as he was from the Khawarij. And you'll find that when he heard these ahadith of shafa'ah, of people being brought out of hell, he was astonished. Because he will do it with the Khawarij, and he, at the same time, he never heard these ahadith. Until you will find that Yazid al-Faqir, if you heard about his story, Yazid al-Faqir, he was from the time where he lived with some, during the time of some of the Sahaba when they were still living. He was not a Sahabi, but he was from those who lived amongst when some of the Sahaba was still living. And from the greatest of the Sahaba that he heard from, that turned him away from being a Khariji, from being from the deviant sect called the Khawarij, and being from those who are now corrected, was named Yazid al-Faqir. Yazid al-Faqir. Yazid al-Faqir heard the hadith of the Messenger of Allah, heard these hadith. Or firstly, they was planning to go kill people, innocent people, during the time of Hajj. During the time of Hajj, they were planning to kill innocent people during the time of Hajj, because they believed that they were all what? Kuffar. So Yazid al-Faqir, they were about to, and they planned on making khuruj, meaning going out to kill and wreak havoc and mass hysteria upon people and killing innocent people, because they were affected by the ideology of the deviant sect called the Khawarij. When they were about to go out and start their mass hysteria and wreak their havoc upon the people, he said he passed by and heard Jabir bin Abdullah radiyallahu anhu quoting these narrations of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of certain Muslims that will be in the hellfire. Nasallahu yu'idana wa iyyakum min dhalik, that there will be certain Muslims that will be in the hellfire, and they will be what? They will be brought out. And their names will be, as it comes in the narration, the Jahannamiyun. They were called, these Muslims who died and were in the hellfire momentarily, were called Jahannamiyun. Who are Jahannamiyun? Jahannamiyun mean that they were people that entered the hellfire. However, they were what? They were brought out of it. And it says in the narration, as we know, that it says that they will be put inside the river of life. And they will have to be what? They will have to now be put in that river of life, that they've been burnt up and tortured. And then they will start to sprout out. And it will come forth as if now life was given back to it again. And then they will be brought out of the river of life. Then they will be put in paradise. Until Yazid al-Faqir has said to the story, he says, Ya Sahabiya Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ma hadi al-ahadith allati tuhaddithu biha? He says, Ya Jabir ibn Abdullah, which is a companion of the Messenger of Allah. He says, what are these narrations that you're narrating? I've never heard this before. Which is to show what, everyone? That the paradise, that would be from the Muslimun that entered the hellfire due to certain acts they committed, but then they will be what? Brought out. You'll find that the great Imam, Sheikh Muhammad Amal Jami, rahimahullah, he says you'll find that they were people from the Muslims, if they'll die, that some of them who died in the state of Iman will be put inside the hellfire called the hellfire of the Muwahhideen, the hellfire of the people of Tawheed, the Nar al-Muwahhideen, meaning that people who died and had Tawheed with them, but they had something that had to be purified before they entered paradise. So, you'll find that the great Imam, Sheikh Muhammad Amal Jami, said that in regards to the kuffar, the hellfire for the mushrikeen and the kuffar is eternal. Meaning it's an eternal punishment for them. He said, but the hellfire of the muwahhideen is a purification for them. So it's a difference. He says that the hellfire of the mushrikeen, are you writing this down, Camden? Are you with me, or you guys tired today? You guys seem like you guys a little bit. He said the hellfire of the people of the mushrikeen, of the polytheists and the kuffar, is an eternal imprisonment for them. It's an eternal punishment, imprisonment for them, eternally. He said, in contrast to the muwahhideen, the people of Tawheed, that hellfire is a purification for them. That hellfire is only a what? Purification for them. Is it an eternal imprisonment? No, it isn't. That's the reason, the difference between the hellfire of the mushrikeen and the hellfire of the muwahhideen. So those who died from the Ahl Qibla, for those who died from the people of the Millat al-Ummatul Muhammadiyah, the millah of this religion, of those who vowed this way, that died in a state where they did not do certain acts. Either they became negligent in certain acts that were obligatory, or they did or committed certain acts that were forbidden, and they did not make what? Tawbah from it. Or they didn't, as we know on the day of resurrection, their deeds will be weighed. And of course we know that the person's deeds will be what? There's more than his bad ones, then we know that what will happen. For a person now that's put in the hellfire from the people of Tawheed, that type of hellfire is a purification for them, not an eternal imprisonment. In contrast to what the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila believe. They believe that the hellfire for those for the people of Tawheed that died upon those major sins, that they died in a state of disbelief, and that the hellfire will be what? An eternal imprisonment for them, until Yazid al-Faqih heard from Jabir ibn Abdullah these narrations, and he was astonished and surprised to hear from it, to let you know how the Khawarij look at the nusus of the text in the Kitaab and Sunnah with a blind eye, without looking at all the narrations fully and completely. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? How long have we been going so far? When did we start? 10 minutes. 6:55 G. So, in regards to what we just mentioned, and now we're going to add on and start from the ayat. These are the ayat, or this is the introduction before we start on the ayat. This is the introduction. We gave the basis. So now we're going to start on the actual explanation of the ayat in the book of Allah Ta'ala, after we now lay down the foundation. So we said that this chapter is what? Ash-Shafa'ah. We also mentioned and said, Ya Ma'ish al-Ikhwa, that Allah Ta'ala is the owner of the Shafa'ah. And it's not permissible, as we'll talk about the conditions of the Shafa'ah, that it be sought from other than Allah whatsoever. If one wants to ask for intercession, it only should be asked from the one who owns it completely, who is Him, who is Allah Himself. So we'll talk about the conditions of the Shafa'ah. طيب. Who wants to read the first ayah? تفضل. تفضل Jamar. No. Read it one more time for me, Jamar. First ayah you'll find, if you look in your books, it says, and warn those, and warn by it. As we know, the pronoun here, by it, is referring back to Quran. As Ibn Abbas mentions. Ibn Abbas, it says it here is talking and referring to the Quran. I mean, warn who? However, this warning here, everyone, is what? Allah is giving a warning to the people of Iman here. It's not talking about the kuffar in this particular context. It says, and warn those who fear. Because it says, warn those who what? Fear. Who is those who fear? People of Tawheed, the people of monotheism. So it says, warn by this Quran. So we know that the word indhar وأنذر به الذين يخافون يحشروا إلى ربهم ليس لهم من دونه ولي ولا شفيع لعلهم يتقون. طيب. That ayah Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَأَنذِرْ بِهِ الَّذِينَ يَخَافُونَ أَن يُحْشَرُوا. Warn. As we know, the warn or indhar, a warning, is al-i'lam ma'a makhuf or ma'a takhweef, is to announce, and at the same time we announce it by instilling fear. Instilling fear. So that's the meaning of indhar. Indhar. Indhar means to warn. Is al-i'lan or al-i'lam ma'a takhweef. It means to announce with instilling fear within the people at the same time. So that's the meaning of indhar. Indhar. Clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? طيب. Now this type of indhar, which is anzir bihi, he says, and warn with this Quran. Warn with this Quran those who have fear that they will be what? Gathered to their Lord. That they be what? Be gathered to their Lord. As we talked about, we said that the khitab or the addressment here is for not for the non-Muslims in this context. Rather, it's for the people of Iman. Those not only for the people of Iman, but the people who have a sound mind and a sound understanding, who truly reflect correctly. So Allah Ta'ala is addressing them, or addressing us, if you want to say. Is addressing inshallah, is addressing the people of Iman and the people of Tawheed and the people of Sunnah to instill in them fear. So they still, even though they have faith, they still should have fear of what? Of their Lord, and fear that their deeds will not be what? Accepted, and have fear that they what? That they will be also likewise will be punished. So that is also something that's incumbent upon the what? The believers. You'll find, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, this is also from the mazaya. This is also from what makes us distinguish from the people of disbelief. Why? Because even though people who believed in what is correct, we still at the same time don't say that it's still guaranteed for us to what? That we will definitely enter paradise. That's one of the things that separate us from what? From them. Because you'll find that regardless of what they say, they'll still say regardless, they're people you will enter paradise regardless. No matter what you do, no matter what you've done, no matter how much you come short, as long as you believe, you will enter paradise. Even though you'll find that Allah Ta'ala here clearly in this ayah is addressing the people of what? Iman. It's still telling them, never feel secure. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? To still not feel secure. Still have some fear that your deeds will not be accepted, and still work diligently in what? Performing righteous actions. And at the same time, have the hope that Allah Ta'ala will what? Will forgive, and that Allah Ta'ala will accept the actions of us, but at the same time, don't feel secure from Allah Ta'ala's punishment. So that's here in this addressment, in this particular ayah, is addressing the people of what? Of the mu'mineen, to still have what? Fear. Then Allah Ta'ala talks about, in the ayah, if you notice, it says that they have nothing besides him of a wali and a shafi'. He says in hope that they will also fear him. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. So Allah Ta'ala is here, is now establishing that they have no type of wali besides him, nor any type of what? Shafi'. Meaning the one who will what? Who will give permission. There's no intercessor except by the command of Allah. We'll also talk about in a couple of minutes, inshallah, if we got time. Inshallah, we're running out of time. طيب. So firstly, like we said, number one, that Allah Ta'ala, as we know, will gather on the day of resurrection, the first of mankind and the last of them, in one plane, where nothing will be hidden from them, in order that Allah Ta'ala, as we know, will judge between the creation and will repay them for their actions. But the question is why did Allah in this ayah, in this context, specify the mu'mineen? Why? Why, everyone? The answer to that is because they are the ones that will what? Carry out the commands. They're the ones that yamtathilun. They are the ones that they've been commanded that if they're informed, they carry it out. And you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in certain contexts will particularize and make the context directed to them specifically, because they are the ones that actually carry out and obey. So warning them is a benefit for them. As for the mushrikun, the kuffar, is rather they're informed from the aspect of just establishing the proof upon them, not for it being truly what of trying to inform them, even though they have the origin of fear. As for the believers, it ain't informed as a benefit for them. In contrast to the kuffar and the mushrikeen, it's used and utilized as a proof against them. But in regards to the believers, it's a what? Benefit for them. That they still what? They still keep them, if you want to say, keep them in check. So they don't now start to what? Thinking that I believe I'm good. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? But it's to keep them in what? Keep them in line. And keep them in what? To keep them in check. So they don't start to drift off and start to recline on the mercy and hope of Allah, where they start to slack off. So this affair is a benefit for what? To benefit. And this affair is to what? Is to benefit them. When Allah Ta'ala negates a wali, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we know, has awliya. We've talked about this on many occasions. We said that wali, the awliya are the friends and those who are, and the ones who are close, and those who are close to Allah. So Allah Ta'ala is a wali of those who believe, and the believers themselves are also likewise awliya, which is the plural of wali. So that can apply to what? To the believers. Every believer, like we said, a person iman is a wali. And depending on how strong his faith is, also likewise, like we said, establishes whether or not his walaya of Allah is either strong or is weak, depending on his obedience and his disobedience, and according to how much he fulfills his duties and doing that which is extra from that which is from those supererogatory or voluntary actions, where one will draw close to Allah and his walaya will become stronger. But every mu'min is a wali. Every believer is a wali of Allah, generally. As Allah Ta'ala says, I think this is Surah to Yusuf or Surah to Yunus, I have to check again. Well, Allah Ta'ala says in his book, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. That verily the awliya of Allah, they have no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. So every mu'min, taqi, is a wali of Allah. What is a wali of Allah? Meaning that he's a friend, astaghfirullah. That he's someone who's close to Allah, and he's someone that Allah Ta'ala loves. Take out the word friend. I don't want that getting all over the internet and then that gets circulated. The awliya are those who are close to Allah, and those who aid Allah's religion, and those who are people of iman, and people of tawheed, and those who Allah Ta'ala loves. They are the awliya of Allah. Every mu'min taqi is a wali. Every mu'min taqi is a wali of Allah. Is it clear what I'm saying? Every mu'min that has taqwa is a wali of Allah. It's not like the definition of the Sufi as we'll talk about. The definition of a Sufi of a wali is something polytheistic, or something that's a form of idolatry. We're talking about in the Kitaab and Sunnah, wali is someone who's a mu'min, and he's a taqi, and he's a wali of Allah. Depending on how strong your faith is, and how much your obedience is, and how much good actions you perform, you will increase your walaya, meaning that closeness to Allah Ta'ala more. And like we know, it goes up and it goes down. So the more you do more fulfilling of Allah Ta'ala's duties and his actions, and even doing voluntary acts and supererogatory actions and voluntary actions, your walaya of Allah will become stronger. Until you will what? Until Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in his book that he will be what? كنت سمعه الذي يبصر به وبصره الذي يبصر به وبطشه التي يبطش بها ويده التي يبطش بها ورجله التي يمشي بها. That Allah Ta'ala says that I will become the sight that he sees with, and he will become the what? He will also be the sight that he sees with, and the hearing that he hears with, and also what he touches with, and also what he walks towards. The meaning of the hadith is not what the Sufiya believe in, that Allah will become inside of your body. That is not the meaning. The meaning is that Allah Ta'ala will give you tawfiq, will give you success until you will not look at except what pleases Allah. And you will not want to hear except that which pleases Allah. And that you will not want to touch except what pleases Allah. And that you will not to walk towards different places or different affairs except that which what pleases Allah. That's the meaning of the hadith. Not the fact that Allah Ta'ala enters your body. As that is the meaning of the Sufiya. Because notice in the first part of the hadith, what does it say, everyone? If you go back to the first part of what does it say, that it says about the awliya of Allah, what does it say? من عاد لي وليا فقد آذنت بالحرب وما تقرب إلي عبدي بالشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه ولا يزال العبد يتقرب إلي بالنوافل حتى أحبه وإذا أحببته كنت سمعه الذي يسمع به وبصره الذي يبصر به وبطشه التي يبطش بها ويده التي يمشي بها ورجله التي يمشي بها. To the end of the narration, وَإِذَا اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَانَنِي لَأُعِينَنَّ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّ. To the end of the narration. But the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, whoever makes war with a wali of mine, then I will make war with him. Who's the wali of Allah? Those who are a mu'min taqi. He says, and وَلَا يَزَالُ, that the abd, or the slave, he never ceases to draw close to me from an affair that is more beloved to me, more than what I have made obligatory upon him. And that the abd will never stop, or he will continue to draw close to me by what is voluntary and supererogatory, until what? Until I will be his eyes in which he will be his hearing in which he hears with, or his eyes in which he sees with, and the hands in which he touches with, and the law and the legs in which he walks towards. And if he seeks my help, I will what? Aid him. And if he seeks my refuge, I will what? Give him protection and give him refuge. The meaning of the hadith, like we said, meaning that a person will increase his walaya of Allah until he reaches a high level of iman, until he will not to look at except what pleases Allah, or listen to except what pleases Allah, or touch except what pleases Allah, or what walk towards except what pleases Allah. That's the meaning of the hadith. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Just as the mu'mineen are awliya of Allah, Allah also is also, to add on to that, Camden, Allah is the waliyul mu'mineen. Also, Allah is the waliyul ladhina amanu, yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumati ila an-nur, as it says in that ayah. Allah is also the wali of those who believe. Is it clear what I'm saying? So not only are the mu'mineen awliya, Allah Ta'ala also is their mawla, and He is also their wali. Is it clear, everyone? He is also their wali. Allah is the wali of those who believe. He removes them from out of the darkness into the light. So when we say li, but however, wali is pertains to Allah, means He's the one that protects them. And He is the one that what? Gives them tawfiq and guidance, and overlooks their affairs and oversees their affairs, and protecting them. So that's the meaning of wali in regards to Allah over the creation. So it's utilized for what? Both meanings. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? It's utilized for what? For both. The creation I call there, Allah Ta'ala has awliya, just as likewise, because Allah Himself says that He has awliya. A person would say, what is the hadith? The hadith clearly just what we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Allah says, "Man aada li waliyan, faqad adhantu bil harb." He says, whoever makes war with a wali of mine, I will make war with him. So Allah is clearly saying that they're from the creation who He declares them to be who? A wali. Those who are from the awliya of Allah, who's deserving of that characteristic, it's like we talked about before, are the people of Tawheed, the people of Sunnah, the people of knowledge, the people of ilm, the people who are righteous. Stay away and be on guard of harming them, because you never know who's a wali of Allah until you harm them, until Allah will make war with you. And this is the reason why I said in the conference, and I said in my talk in Chester. What did I say when I gave my lecture in Chester? You make war of those who's expected that you would think that is a wali of Allah Ta'ala is the ulama. We have not seen the likes of those who make war, speaking ill about Sheikh bin Baz, except you'll find that Allah humiliates them. That was in his life and after his death. Rahimahullah. You will never find that someone speak ill about Sheikh Uthaymeen, trying to find his shortcomings and trying to find his, except that you'll find that Allah disgraces them when he was alive and after his death. To this day. And even like Sheikh Al-Albani and other than them from Ahl Ilm, and also likewise those before them from Sheikh Muhammad bin Ibrahim Ali Sheikh, who came before them, who's the Sheikh bin Baz, and other than them from Ahl Ilm, and even in these days while they're still alive, I've never seen anyone speak ill about Sheikh Rabi'. This is something that has been experienced for years. I have not seen anyone speak ill about Sheikh Rabi', except that you'll find that Allah humiliated him. I have not seen the likes of anyone speak ill about Sheikh Rabi', except that you find that Allah humiliates them. Humiliates him. I have not seen anyone that speaks bad or ill about Sheikh Salih Fawzan, except you'll find that Allah Ta'ala humiliates them. I have not seen anyone that speaks ill about Sheikh Ubaid, that mentions him in a very evil manner, except you'll find disgrace and dhul and saghar and disgrace and humiliation overtake these type of people. Why? Because the ulama, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, is madhinnatul walaya lillah. It's expected that you will find that those who are from Ahl Ilm, we're not saying that we know specifically that they're awliya, but it's more expected that we know that those who possess knowledge, who are deemed from our scholars, is all the more reason that they are the people of what? Of khashya, the people of fear of Allah, because those who truly fear Allah is the one who what? Have knowledge. And when you have knowledge of Allah Ta'ala, you're the one who truly fears Him. And the ulama are the ones you would think are expected to have that type of what? Characteristic. When Allah Ta'ala says, whoever makes war with a wali of mine, then I will make war with him. And this is what you see in every time and every place. And there's not no one that tries to look for the shortcomings of their brother, except know for sure, brothers and sisters out there who are listening, Allah is going to follow up your shortcomings. And Allah Ta'ala will follow up your shortcomings and expose you, even if it's in your own household. So be very careful in trying to find shortcomings of your brothers and sisters, no matter who it is, whether it be me or whoever it is. Trying to find and lurk and plot and try to find something you can paste on me or whoever it is. I'm trying to find something. I'm going to find something on you. I know you're going to say eventually something I don't like. Know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, مَنْ تَتَبَّعَ عَوْرَةِ أَخِيهِ تَتَبَّعَ اللَّهُ عَوْرَتَهُ وَمَنْ تَتَبَّعَ اللَّهُ عَوْرَتَهُ يَفْضَحُ اللَّهُ وَلَوْ فِي جَوْفِ رَحْلِهِ وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ وَلَوْ فِي جَوْفِ بَيْتِهِ. Prophet ﷺ said, whoever tries to look and scrutinize and look for the shortcomings of his brother, Allah Ta'ala will what? Will follow up the shortcomings. Allah will follow up his shortcomings. And he will look for his shortcomings. And Allah Ta'ala will expose him, even if it's in the what? Even if it's at the deafness of his saddle. And the meaning of it, you'll find another narration who explains it. It says, even if it's in his own household. Allah Ta'ala will what? Expose the individual. So like we said, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, these are the awliya, and this is the definition of wali. So the mu'mineen are called what? Awliya, just as Allah Ta'ala is the wali of those who believe. So it's both. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? We'll stop here, inshallah. You guys seem like he was a little exhausted today. Maybe it's probably because of this hour. This hour throws everything off. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل جماعة.